Hey guys, after watching 3.7 the other day, I got extraordinarily excited about the discovery of the Inforunner career, and a lot of you guys kind of threw out some information at me about info running, some possible theories, and everything about it just sounded awesome. So, I kind of wanted to use this video to kind of compile what I know, make sure all the information is kind of correct, I guess. And then I wanted to kind of theorize on some possible places that this profession could take us. Those of you guys that have seen my Star Wars Galaxy video know that differentiating yourself, I guess, in one of these persistent universes that's something that I'm actually looking for, a way to kind of differentiate yourself uniquely, right? So info running actually sounds like an area that this could potentially happen. There's a lot of cool ideas that are floating around in my head from these last couple of days. And a lot of you guys had some really cool ideas as well, which I'll get into in this video. First and foremost, New York City Bar Citizen. It's happening next week. This is awesome. And what's even better, I should be able to go, so I'm pretty pumped about it. The post for the Bar Citizen was made on Reddit. Drunk Pack posted it, but I think it looks like Sergeant Gamble and Supreme Tokyo are the ones to thank for putting it together. So thank you. Right now, there's like a 99% chance I should be able to make it. So I'm pumped. So after learning about info running, I actually did quite a bit of research. And I want to actually thank Criticorn. One of you guys previously recommended his videos to me, and he actually had a video on salvaging and thus info running in that salvaging video. I'll link to his video below, but that video was really helpful in kind of summarizing the big features as of that video's date, the big features for info running. Also, the last couple of days I've been frequenting the RSI forums and obviously Reddit. Actually, are there other big? I'm sure there's a lot of other forums out there, but are there any big depots for information that a lot of you veterans hang out in or pass information in? Are there any other forums you guys dabble in, or is kind of the go-to places for information, the RSI forums and Reddit? So just to review the basics, right? There's info running is essentially picking up and dropping off of data, right? It's usually reserved for any data or if you have data to move, rather, I should say, and you don't want it available for public distribution, you will hire a data runner or info runners, and that info runner picks up and drops off data. So at its core, that's what's going on here, right? That's the career. I guess right off the bat, I have a lot of questions. First, is there any word on if a ship can carry like unlimited data? I mean, given that, think about the medium that it's in, right? It's just like a data bank, and data is only X big. You know what I mean? Like, is there? I wouldn't say unlimited, but is there going to be like one piece of data per data bank, or are you going to be able to fit like 5 corporations worth of data on one data bank, and your ship's able to hold like 5 data banks? Like what kind of? I guess I'm wondering what kind of space are we talking about, and what kind of space does data take up? And again, all these questions we might not know, but this is stuff that's kind of flowing through my mind. So one of the advantages, obviously, and we'll get into kind of the ships later, like the Herald, that have special functionalities like wiping data, for instance. If you're under attack, you can wipe data. So do you actually have to be on a ship to wipe the data, or even, I'm assuming, to transmit data? Do you have to actually be on a ship, or can you do that remotely? Or maybe that's like a skill level or something you learn to be able to do it remotely. And also how close for when you're transmitting data, or if you can't do it remotely, I guess there's a distance thing there too. But when you're transmitting data, how close to a source? And I'm assuming that it's either the actual source you're transmitting it to, or to a relay. How close to that source do you have to be to transmit? And that's inside or outside. So if you can't do it remotely outside of your ship, how close within your ship do you have to be? Also, can I store data in other places besides my ship data banks? For instance, in our personal hangars, can we have like personal data banks that we can kind of more permanently store information where it's like 100% safe? You can't really transmit it or transmit data from that personal hangar, but if you actually want to store data, is possible to store it outside of the scope of the ship. But then I was thinking about it, and if that's possible and you're able to store it in a hangar or some other place, maybe it's not 100% safe. Maybe there's certain conditions that have to be met for for an opposing faction or opposing players to perform a raid on your hangar or wherever else it could be stored outside of your ship. Obviously, it would have to be well coordinated and probably would have to be very costly, maybe reserved for more wealthy organizations, but that'd be kind of an interesting dynamic as well. If there were other data conflict points, I guess, is what I'm asking. Also, is there any kind of personal data? Like, I get all the main types of common uses, which, again, we can go over later, but is there any kind of personal data that I can create, aside from, like, base coordinates or whatever, that can be stolen, and that data can be stolen? Like, for instance, maybe can I store player names in a file and call that file sources? I know that's probably the worst name ever, and I deserve to be hacked and pirated if I do that. But is it possible to store that kind of information? And that would be like, and the only way anyone would know about it is if like someone close to me betrayed me, which would be a cool dynamic, right? And they know the name of the file because they have access to it. So maybe there's like permissioning systems on these information files too. That'd be kind of neat. It would also allow for like espionage and spy work and stuff like that. Like, who do you trust? Anyway, so someone close to me would obviously could leak that to the name of the file to a corporation or group of pirates, and so they would know what to go after or what to look for. So they wouldn't have to like go through all my stuff. They could actually target something. I don't know. That's just a thought. Also, if you're under attack, are you able to jettison databanks? Like, if, say I'm like under attack and I fly into an asteroid, right? Can I jettison a databank into like a crevice in as an asteroid and fly out the other side and hope they don't get it? And then if they kill me, so be it, you know. But I can always go back and get the jettisoned data later. That'd be kind of a cool feature, so to speak. But actually, I was thinking about it. It would also enable kind of physical trade-off points. So like, there's maybe the security measure in place where this team of data info runners, they could basically physically trade off data, and they could like mix it in with like decoys and stuff like that. So there's like exponential paths that pirates would have to follow based off of these physical trade points. And as a counter to that, the pirates could actually watch the secure data routes. Like they could plan and like scope out and scout these data routes, these super secure, you know, grade A player certified data routes. It'd be cool if like the players can start certifying. Pirates could watch these routes, plan like a precision attack on one of these trade-off points, right? So it'd be kind of cool. But then I was thinking counter to that again, the corporations or whoever's in charge paying for the operation, or maybe that's just one of the services that the higher tier info runners provide, is more protection around these trade-off points. Again, like they would just have like additional ships to protect against stuff like that. So creating a lot of jobs, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Anyway, there's that whole scenario I just played out in my head. Some potentially big battles that could break out. Also, can I physically hold, given all we know about like salvage and holding stuff, can I physically hold the databank, or is it just a module that goes ship? And I guess a bigger question is, can you physically hold anything that's a part on your ship? But specifically, this is a question: can I physically hold the databank with the purpose of, instead of jettisoning a databank, I can go out with the databank. So I could just basically put the hold down autopilot or put the bat on the accelerator and let my ship just full speed fly off, right? And I fly out the side and hold on to my databank, right? And they don't see me, and then I kind of get away. So I'll be just stuck in space with my databank, waiting for my backup to come and get me. That'd be kind of cool too. I doubt that's possible, but I mean, it would be totally possible if we can grab on for any of these modules. Anyways, those are some of the kind of the basic questions, immediate questions I had that came to my mind. I was thinking about the possibilities here. So as far as the ships that are kind of associated right now with info running, and please let me know if I'm missing any, because it's important. The Drake Herald, right? That's kind of the main ship right now, and it's the main ship because it's fast, looks cool as hell, but it specifically has like EMP protection and backup power sources, so it can kind of protect against like pirate EMP attacks and stuff like that. It also has, as I mentioned before, it also has data wiping, right? So it can quickly and easily kind of get rid of the data in worst case scenarios. And on the data wiping, is there any kind of, did they mention anything else to do with data wiping in terms of like backups or something, or is there? Seems like if you did wipe data, like yeah, you protect it, but it'd be cool if there was some sort of other kind of aspect to data wiping. Maybe like a higher skill level tier, like a physical. But then I guess that gets into the physical copies, which is like the data banks or whatever. If you are under attack in a Drake Herald, and before wiping it, is it possible? Is it going to be like realistic to upload all that data to a backup ship? Assuming you have a backup ship and a plan, are you going to be able to upload that before wiping? Does anyone know about the time frames on like uploading and downloading and scanning and receiving data and transferring data? Like, I'm assuming you can be taken out by a heavy pirate raid in less than a minute, I'm assuming, if they somehow manage to disable you. Is that something, is a minute or however long, is that going to be enough time if you're overwhelmed to get rid of your data without totally losing it first? I don't know. That was kind of running through my head. Also, I read, and you guys can tell me if this is right or not, it pairs well. I was talking about backup ships and stuff. The Drake Herald pairs well with the Hornet Tracker, because the Hornet Tracker is really good at scanning for opposition, long range scanning on opposition. So it could kind of scout ahead or behind or to the sides, little diamond pattern around your ship, right? It could scan and then kind of report back any issues, right? So is there better ships for this? I mean, is there other alternate ideas for protection? I mean, is the best course of defense? I mean, you could be surrounded by bombers and fighters, I guess, and that's kind of pretty badass protection detail. Aside from just button heads, is there anything else besides the Hornet Tracker that can kind of supplement Drake Herald, so to speak? And also, I'm thinking about with the formations, with those diamond formations and stuff, there could be like a really good operation would have like decoys all over the place, right? It's going to be really cool. It's going to be really, if the information's worth it, if what we're delivering or what the potential information is, then this is going to be a fun industry. So on the flip side, it looks like, and again, this is just information I read, the Vanguard Sentinel looks to be one of the main opposition ships for the Drake Herald. Its EMP capabilities are like really intense, and I guess I didn't really understand why else it was. Maybe like the speed was up to par with the Drake Herald, because I know the Drake Herald has a big ass engine in the back, right? So it can kind of cruise, but the Vanguard Sentinel, I guess, has, or it's a better ship for taking it down or disabling it. I didn't find a lot of information on that, or what specifically why I guess it was better for taking out a Drake Herald. So if you guys have any information on that, information itself, like there's common uses, right? There's you can transport like mining locations, you can transport fleet locations, you can transport or carry information of criminals for bounty hunters that are looking for specific criminals. That one actually I got a question on. Like, this doesn't really have to do with info running, but like, are there any systems in place in Star Citizen to locate a particular pilot? Like, how the hell do I take an order from somebody saying, Joe Schmo, piss me off, you get 1 million credits if you take him out? Like, how do I know, aside from his last known location, and maybe like I'm assuming there's some scanning ability where I can scan a ship for a signature. Maybe I have the ship's ID, or maybe it even says his name. I don't know. Are there any systems in place to know this? I mean, maybe this is part of like the whole system. Like, you have your paid lookouts, right? And you can broadcast your paid lookouts, and those guys kind of keep an eye out for you. That'd be kind of cool if it was all human player created methods of locating people. But I'm curious if there are any Star Citizen systems in place to help with that. But aside from that, you can carry planet locations, unidentified planet locations or whatever, and jump points. Aside from those, am I missing any types of, at least what we know so far, are we missing any types of data? I'm hoping for all the kind of the custom data or personal data above, but I don't. It's just a dream at this point. I also read about IDs, and that will like each, like when you have a when you're transmitting information, there's going to be like an ID associated with it. So I'm wondering if that kind of play out, or is that going to play out like a nuclear launch code that verifies a transmission, so to speak? Meaning, like, every ship and every system has like a unique ID that gets transmitted along with the information to help verify the delivery of the information. The question I have about that is, it wouldn't really secure anything, right? Like, okay, you can verify that the right person delivered it for payment, and I get that, but it doesn't really make it any more secure, right? You can still steal the information, I guess, unless, of course, maybe the information was encrypted, and it was encrypted using your specific unique ID, so it's basically useless if it's stolen. The only way to unencrypt it is to use a system that's associated with this particular ID in a ship. I don't know. But then again, there's countermeasures to maybe steal those IDs for that. So is that a thing? That sounds like it could be cool. Like that sounds like a kind of a natural part of pirating. So on kind of the flip side of info running, like pirate opportunities. And actually, there was a really I'm gonna give a shout out to Gladys, and apologies if I'm not pronouncing your name. Gladys in the comment section of my last video said there's already been discussion about certain like pirate bait traps. And the example he or she gave, pardon me, is if you take like a merchantman ship and you damage it a little bit, and then you kind of fill it full of troops, and then kind of send out your distress signals and whatnot, then kind of like wait for them to come in. Anyway, it's basically setting a trap for certain things like that. All that seems totally plausible. Sounds awesome, and it sounds like it can kind of get really, the traps that can be set can kind of get really creative. I think you could have scenarios where there's like former employees that don't really give up their spot, but they're taking money under the table, and they're like feeding kind of like transition or trading locations or something like that. Like you could even get into some crazy scenarios where like a CEO of a corporation or the leader of a corporation starts selling its secrets behind the back of the whole organization just to undermine it for profitability or price manipulations. Kind of interesting. And then there's spy opportunities, right? So I'm picturing like a scenario where you could basically act as like a relay buffer. Like again, this is a way you could probably differentiate yourself. You could stay at a static location in like a safe area or a safe zone, and you could be known. Like your main focus is to relay information from a safe point, right? So, and that's also acts as a buffer, so whoever's giving you the information doesn't actually there's no reference, like you hold that information, so you're that buffer. They can kind of protect their identities. So I guess my only question is can people give you bounties, and can you be attacked off a bounty if you're in a safe zone? But there's a cool potential there for like sort of like a real herald, right? It's the real town herald that's kind of broadcasting the information. On a similar note, the Reliant Mako, the news van, could you steal one or buy one and kind of use it to broadcast stuff publicly? Like the whole point of it is so you get maybe you pick up information from the heralds that I was talking about, and you're just like broadcast. And your whole goal is to basically run around and feed information to people publicly. I don't know. There's probably not that much financial gain in that, but you could still be well known, differentiate yourself, and become a well known whistleblower, so to speak. Sort of the WikiLeaks of Star Citizen. Also, I guess another question is for the heralds, the Drake Herald ships. Is there a potential to use their capabilities for any kind of offensive maneuvering? I'm not sure. Like the only thing that comes to mind is maybe potentially sending. Like you can transmit information, so is there any kind of way to like send fake information into another ship and maybe scramble their systems, their navigation systems, or do something since you have it's electronic, your ship is based around electronic warfare, so is there any kind of messing with the ship or feeding false information into the ship that you can kind of do? Or maybe even if that's not possible with electronic warfare, is there enough stealth or cloaking? I haven't heard anything about cloaking, so I'm not even sure that's a thing. But is there any kind of stealth capabilities on the ship where you can kind of get close enough to like a capital ship, almost like the whole Star Wars scenario with the trash chute, not the trash chute, and you could literally sit there on the side of the ship or something and just kind of steal information as it comes and transmit it off. Like, will that capital ship be able to know that you're there, or is your herald powerful enough to hide itself for an indefinite period of time, or even a short period of time? Is there going to be any opportunities for kind of the Star Wars scenario there? That would be awesome. I guess the only other thing I'm kind of curious about is, Are there other ships that, whether it's through mods or play styles, is at least that we know about right now, that can get close to the Herald's functionality? Maybe even giving it like a combative edge or a stealth edge, depending on your preference. Or is right now the Drake Herald the go-to ship for boat running? Be interesting. Other than that, that was a lot of the upfront kind of questions I had about info running profession. It sounds absolutely, not to sound cheesy, but it sounds absolutely tantalizing. It sounds like something I can go into and have fun with, and even get under people's or corporations, get under their skin a little bit. Maybe make a name for myself. It's the opportunity to do something a little sketchy, and it's promising because the previous video I read that Chris Roberts was like, the pirating and all that kind of stuff is kind of put to the wayside. It's kind of a tedious task that you pay for in other games. So this is going to be like the way they're doing it's going to be a full-fledged career path opportunity. So on the flip side of pirating, I gotta believe that info running is going to be kind of a full-fledged thing. So if you guys have any information on any of the potential theories I had, any of that stuff's possible, great. That'd be awesome. Let me know. I would imagine a lot of this stuff is still up in the air, and we don't know a lot as of this point. Maybe we're all in the same boat now. I don't know. But it's going to be. Tell you what, it's going to be one hell of a ride, both metaphorically before the game is released and literally after the game is released. All right. If you have any opinions, good or bad, leave them in the comments. Let's talk it out. If you guys have any other ship recommendations that can kind of delve into info running, I'd be interested to know about those. Or if there's any other kind of pirate operations or spy operations you guys have thought about or brainstormed, I would love to hear about those too. There's nothing more fun than kind of branching theories. All right, guys, hope you have a great day, and I will see you. I think tomorrow drops the 3.8 around the world, so I'm kind of looking forward to that. So I might have another video pretty soon. Otherwise, I'm going to backtrack and try to hit up 3.6. I still have not watched that. All right, later.